Today we are making gluten-free blueberry scones, a delicious, quick and easy breakfast treat that you and your family will love over and over again. The ingredients for this recipe are simple, and I tried to make it so that one could easily find them and make it for your family whenever you choose. You'll also note that this recipe does not include a lot of heavy oils, butter, salt, and other additives and fillers because one, these things in excess are not so very healthy for you, and you honestly don't need it. I have found that it is really an art and skill to be able to make something very delicious without having to add all these fillers and extras. So what you'll do first is combine the ingredient list as I have shown you, and with gluten-free goods, breads, and pastries, you'll need to have something to help you to bind your ingredients together. In this case, we're using flax meal. There are also other choices such as psyllium husk, arrowroot powder, and others. For the flax meal, you want to make a flax meal egg. So what you'll do is you'll take your flax meal and you will mix it in with your water, and you'll get what will seem to be a gel-like substance that you'll then add to help to bind together. We're also using some freshly blended oats that we're going to make this oat milk pulp from. This oat milk pulp is also the beginnings of a delicious yogurt that I will link also for you here below. And the star of our recipe is our gluten-free starter, which we have made fresh from millet. I will also link the video where I show you how you can do this step by step. I'm also using just a little bit of organic honey to add a little sweetness. But because you're using blueberries or honestly any other fruit of your choice, you really don't need a lot of sugars. And if you choose to use a sweetening source, it's always great to choose something that will give you some added health benefit. So something like honey, date syrup, sucanat, or an unprocessed sweetening agent would be great and used in minimal amount. So you're going to be combining all your ingredients together, mixing them well to incorporate, and you want to eventually form yourself a dough ball that you can then work with. Now this dough is, I would say, a little bit on the fragile side, mainly because it does not have a high gluten structure, of course, because we're working with gluten-free recipes here. So you just want to be mindful of that as you handle your dough and just take your time with it and incorporate it as best as you can. After a time, go ahead and get your hands in there. Doing this really helps you to feel what it is like to have a dough that is of good consistency and that will give you your desired scone texture. There's nothing like feeling the dough yourself so that you are aware of what that texture is like. So you're going to go ahead and gently bring it together. You'll find that there's a little bit of crumb to it, but it will eventually come together and make yourself a beautiful scone. And as you can see, you don't need a lot of butter or anything like that in order to combine all together to make the dough that you're going to be using. So you just give it a few squishes and pulls, and before you know it, it has all combined as you would need it to be. At this point, you'll go ahead and rest your dough in a warm spot in your kitchen for at least 4 hours at minimum to 6 hours or so. Now, gluten-free baked goods do not rise in the same way that gluten baked goods do, but they do give you a rise, especially because you're using that wonderful starter that has the yeast activity present. Now we have rested our dough, and we are gonna go ahead and bring it together and cut our pieces so that we can get ready for baking. You can flour the surface with a little millet flour so that it's easier to work with. You will now find that the dough is much easier to work with, and it has really built up some structure similar to regular doughs that you would normally work with, and that really does help to make things easier to form and to go ahead and make those scones. Now what you'd like to do is kind of have a uniform circular formation that you're then going to flatten. And then once you're ready with flattening, you'll go ahead and use a handy tool to just cut out the shapes that you'd like. The usual shapes for scones are normally those triangles that we often see, but honestly, you can do whatever shape you'd like, and it's even all the more fun when you involve your children and they make all the little funny shapes that their heart desires. I often tend to lean towards a more rustic looking product, so I'm not too concerned about whether they're all uniformly the same. Once you have finished shaping them, go ahead and place them on a non-stick baking sheet, such as this one, in order to prevent sticking. And then go ahead and bake them at 350 for about 15 or so minutes. Kind of check on them and see how they're doing, because I know everyone's oven tends to be a little bit different and heats a little bit differently from one person to the next. So keep an eye on them. You're just looking for a lightly golden brown color, and they really do rise very nicely and evenly. Once done baking, you are all set. These scones are very soft and light and very delicate to eat. They were delicious and very good just as they were, but if you'd like, you can serve them with a little dollop of homemade yogurt or a little drizzle of honey if you prefer. They are wonderful and an easy go-to each week. I hope you'll enjoy them and tune in again with me as I show you more delicious and sustainable recipes that you can make with your very own sourdough.